board gamers, and welcome back to Not Board Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark. Now in today's very special episode we're going to be previewing an expansion to a game which came out last year. And what game was the base game? Well, if I was to say to you, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your pens. That's right, you know that the base game that I'm talking about is Rome and Roll from PSC. Did you know that PSC stands for Plastic Soldier Company? That's just brilliant. Designed by David Turczi and Nick Shaw. The base game of Rome and Roll is a hybrid kind of Euro and roll and write game. Well, on Kickstarter right now is the brand new expansion, and that expansion is Gladiators. That's right, they are bringing Gladiators to Rome and Roll as an expansion to the base game. It makes perfect sense and it makes the game fantastic. See, not that the base game on its own wasn't already fantastic. Since I got Rome and Roll, I've played it a lot because it is really easy to set up. It takes no time at all to set up, and it is a strategic roll and write. You will roll some dice, you will draft resources from these dice, and then you will use those resources to potentially build buildings and spread your empire throughout the various kind of parts of Rome. You're going to track various things on there. You're going to conquer settlements, you're going to lay roads, and all of these things are going to be tracked on your worker board, and you're going to try and score as many points as possible, because as a solo player you're going to be competing against the dastardly AI that is Seneca. And Seneca will move around Rome and start to issue rubble and pile rubble everywhere and stop you spreading your empire. They will also take over roads and settlements, and it becomes a really, really involved game. For a game that is on the surface looks deceptively simple, it's a roll and write game, it offers a surprising amount of strategic depth. Offering different asymmetrical player boards and various building types you will draw at random, as well as Seneca's kind of evolving AI deck, Rome and Roll for the solo player offers a really deep experience. What you're going to do is you'll start off and you will have relatively few resources, and you're going to use those resources to potentially build buildings, and those buildings will allow you then to trigger certain actions other buildings are built next to them to give you more resources as well. And every round you're going to roll the dice and draft some more resources, and Seneca is going to draft some dice as well to stop you drafting resources. You're going to get stronger as your resources build up, as the amount of buildings that you have around the map build up, and you can start activating different buildings. You're going to start scoring points for coins, for roads, for the amount of buildings that you've got, for conquering settlements. You're going to raise armies, and you're going to bribe senators as well. There is a lot going on. As I say, it's deceptive to think that this is a roll and write game, and I think that is the beauty of Rome and Roll. Offering different asymmetrical player boards and various building types you will draw at random, as well as Seneca's kind of evolving AI deck, Rome and Roll for the solo player offers a really deep experience. What you're going to do is you'll start off and you will have relatively few resources, and you're going to use those resources to potentially build buildings, and those buildings will allow you then to trigger certain actions other buildings are built next to them to give you more resources as well. And every round you're going to roll the dice and draft some more resources, and Seneca is going to draft some dice as well to stop you drafting resources. You're going to get stronger as your resources build up, as the amount of buildings that you have around the map build up, and you can start activating different buildings. You're going to start scoring points for coins, for roads, for the amount of buildings that you've got, for conquering settlements. You're going to raise armies, and you're going to bribe senators as well. There is a lot going on. As I say, it's deceptive to think that this is a roll and write game, and I think that is the beauty of Rome and Roll. You see, in a world where potentially there are too many plastic models, where I'm thinking games like Era and Tapestry, where they look absolutely fantastic, but are they necessary for gameplay? What David Turczi and Nick Shaw have done here is create an experience that not only negates the need for plastic models, so already we're pushing the plastic out of the way, which is better for the environment, reduces the cost of the game down significantly, but also captures the current zeitgeist for roll and write games. And I will say right now, in a world where roll and write games seem to pop up to a penny, and I'm thinking of games, great games out there like Welcome To and Cartographers, for me, Rome and Roll is my favourite roll and write game. but you also need great gameplay to back it up, and that's absolutely where Roman Roll delivers. So as well as getting these great components such as the really nice chunky dice that you get, the asymmetrical player boards, the main board, the additional cards which are all of great stock, the really comprehensive and very well laid out rulebook, is you get this wonderful immersive gameplay. I actually feel like I'm kind of becoming the architect of my own dreams within Roll as I'm moving around the map and creating new buildings and trying to work out the best place to put these buildings to maximise my resources and the actions from there. And the base game provides all that for a sum of around about £35. So it's not an expensive game because you're not paying for unnecessary miniatures. And if that's where PSC and David Turczi Nick Shaw had stopped, that would be great. You would have a fantastic game that you can say you can set up for quickly, play a game in about an hour as a solo player, and then put away in no time whatsoever. But what they've done now with this brand new Kickstarter expansion is they looked at this world of Rome that you are rebuilding as you traverse through the streets and build your buildings, and looked at the strategy and thought about how they can add to that. And what they've done is just absolutely brilliant. They've introduced the Gladiators Expansion, which adds a whole new level of depth of strategy onto Roman Roll and takes this fantastic game and makes it even better. So in the base game of Roman Roll, you get a various amount of cards for various buildings that you're going to build. So be that a manufacturing type building or an army type building or an urban or leisure type building. In the Gladiators expansion for Roman Roll, you get quite a few new bits, and key amongst those are these gladiatorial cards that you will get. So you have here, as you can see, there is a ludus and an arena there, and what they allow you to do is they allow you to recruit gladiators. In the main game, you can raise legions and you can create senators, but in this new one, in this new version, what you can do is absolutely create some gladiators, and you're going to need to do that and recruit those gladiators because you're going to take them to the Colosseum, and in a rather great game of kind of noughts and crosses, you're going to play against Seneca to see who wins the most rounds of combat in the Colosseum. So in the base game, there's the drafting phase where you've rolled your dice and then you can draft certain dice to either get resources or access to various workers, etc. And Seneca, rather cleverly in how it's designed, will also draft some of the dice and kind of block you drafting dice. In the Gladiators expansion, you get access to one new die, and this is a gladiatorial die here. And what that is, you will roll that with the rest of the dice and then place it to the side of the board next to the gladiator board. And if you commit or carry out the particular action that's on there on your turn, then you can recruit a gladiator and put him in the gladiatorial arena, and that's where this comes into play, and you're going to start playing this rather fantastic game of noughts and crosses, a little bit against yourself as well as against Seneca. You see, your noughts or crosses can be your gladiators can be either noughts or crosses, and as long as it's in your colour, that's all that matters. If on any particular round, once I've added gladiators and Seneca's added gladiators, there's a line of crosses or a line of noughts, and that is it. That is that particular combat done. And you're going to work out which school has won there. So as you can see at the bottom here, if I'm green, we're currently on the third round of combat here. So on the first round, green X has won. That means that I created the final X on a line to win that round of combat. However, Seneca also gets points for how many X's he had based on where they were on the board as well. So there's different number qualities on there, different number quantities. So he will also every round kind of start getting some points there. You can see in the second round, Seneca won. He put the final naught in there, and he won there. So, and he scored 12 points from where his gladiators were in that arena. We're now in the third round, and there isn't a clear winner as of yet, but I can tell you right now that whoever gets this final 0 in the top here, and that could be me or Seneca, depending on which gladiator or who recruits the next gladiator, will win that third round of combat. And that adds a really good kind of level of depth of strategy into Roman Roll. You see, adding the Gladiators expansion into the base game of Roman Roll has really taken the game to the next level. I played the base game, I don't know, maybe a dozen times now. I played with the Gladiators expansion maybe 4 times now, and I don't think I will be playing the game without the Gladiators expansion. It really does add kind of next level stuff for me. It makes it even more enjoyable than the base game already was, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. You see, you do get some superfluous expansions in other games. in Roman Roll with the Gladiators expansion, what David and Nick have done here is make sure that it thematically fits with the game. It all blends in seamlessly, and as I say, adds an enhanced gaming experience onto there, and as well as kind of the new the new cards that you get in the Colosseum boards. There are also some public advisors, and these are public advisors that you can start to bribe and get additional resources throughout the game. There's some new victory point or Nero cards for victory points on there as well. There is a new asymmetrical player board, which is the you have to give me the name here, Ruderius player, and that adds a different dimension because of course all of the player boards are asymmetrical and add a different ability onto there as well. There's new God's Favours cards which change when you get these God's Favours as well. And more importantly, for the AI, there are now, as well as having the Seneca deck, you now have the Seneca bonus actions. So Seneca will take 2 turns each round, but what he will now have are some bonus actions. And as you can see on these bonus actions, maybe it is to assign a gladiator, and that's how he puts his gladiators in there. Maybe he's going to bribe a public advisor. There's a public advisor, or maybe he will rest and you won't have to take an action that turn. So what this does is it means that you can use more or less all of the existing Seneca cards, and then you've got this additional bonus cards that add onto the deck there, and it's a great way of adding more depth into how Seneca is playing and trying to beat you. Now, excuse me, I have yet to win a game playing with the Gladiators expansion. I've been very close on one game. I lost my first game by a wide margin because I hadn't got my strategy down. And on my last game, I was within about 3 points of doing that. Whereas in the base game of Roman Roll, if I kind of do it right, I can win there, maybe 30-40% of the time. But with the Gladiators expansion, that extra level of strategy and depth is just absolutely fantastic. Really kind of refreshes the challenge of Roman Roll. I don't think it's any surprise to you to find out that I really, really enjoy this Gladiators expansion to Roman Roll. What David and Nick have done here is to create something that seamlessly works into the base game and takes this really great, maybe underappreciated base game and takes it to the next level. If you're looking for a good strategic kind of mid-weight Euro challenge, and maybe slightly less than mid-weight Euro challenge, then Roman Roll is really a game that you should be exploring because it allows you this kind of depth of play that you're not necessarily going to get from a game like Cartographers or a game like Welcome To. There's nothing wrong with those games. They fill a certain niche, but the seamless kind of hybridization here of having a roll and write and having a Euro game works exceptionally well. The setting works really, really well. It drips in theme as much as it can do. It's a pleasure to start collecting stone and fish and maybe going out there and using the fish to power your worker to go more spaces on the board, or maybe you're going to use the stone to start laying roads in the settlements or conquering settlements as well by raising legions. There's even in the expansion, there's a cracking new card, which is, there we go, it's the board game club. You see, David and Nick have got us covered from every angle as a board gamer. As a solo gamer, Seneca, the AI opponent, is so simple to implement into your game and provides this flawless to control but kind of really challenging AI that is dynamic, because the cards you will have, they're more or less the same cards every time, but they'll be in a different order, and it will create a new environment each and every time. And the new cards that are added in there, the bonus cards, really create this extra level of dimension, this extra dimension of strategy as you start getting yourself to the gladiatorial arena, the Colosseum, for some gladiatorial combat. This is an absolute genius move on their part. You've got the new settlement with the new roads on there. You've got the kind of strategic game of noughts and crosses that you're playing against yourself and against Seneca to try and maximise where you're going to put things. It's just a pure joy to play. I set it up in no time at all. I play in about an hour and then I can put it away, but chances are is I will play 2 or maybe 3 games on the trot, as has happened before, because I enjoy the experience that much. So, for me, I think it's an absolutely fantastic addition. Cost-wise, for the amount of content that you get in the base game with the Gladiators expansion, it makes it a no-brainer. You will have spent a lot more on games that deliver so much less than what Roman Roll does by PSC. And there we go, that's my rather brief run through of the Gladiators expansion for Roman Roll, designed by David Turczi and Nick Shaw and published by PSC, and I cannot say enough good things about this expansion. I think that if you have any interest in a kind of hybrid Euro and roll and write game, then you must go out and seek out a copy of the base game of Roman Roll and then get yourself to the Kickstarter and go and back the expansion, because it will add that kind of next level of depth. You will play through Roman Roll, and if you never had another expansion, you'll be absolutely kind of happy with the experience that you got there. But as soon as you add the Gladiators expansion into your Roman Roll experience, you'll be like, oh yes, this is really kind of next level. It's a fantastic addition to a fantastic and potentially slightly underappreciated game. I think for the price that you pay for the base game, which I say is around about £35, you get a hell of a lot of game in the box, and the Kickstarter is such great value that adds all this extra content with the Colosseum, with the additional cards, with the new player board, with the new dice that goes in there. So much added in such a small package to a great game already. So go and check out the Kickstarter. The link is in the description below. Go and back yourselves a copy of the Gladiators expansion for Roman Roll, because you will not regret that one bit.